Hello and welcome to our second episode of PDPC, the PennDragon podcast. I am the semi-official, sort of unofficial, mostly unofficial host, Ben Wong, and with me is
Roxanne Chu.
and
You have to do
we
the
have
circles.
oh yes, we have to do our circles like this. No one else can see this. Okay. And with us is our very first guest. And would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, everyone. It's Isabelle. It is great to be here with you, Ben and Rox.
Thank you for being here with us. Let's do our traditional circle claps around the microphones that no one can see.
Except
Amazing.
us.
Amazing. So, I mean, I guess how does it feel to be so important that that you are our very first guest?
It feels crazy. I don't really know what I'm going to be talking about today, but I'm excited to be here. It's nice to be talking to people that are not my dog or my boyfriend.
Oh,
It is a new experience for me.
I know talking to boyfriends is such a drag. Oh, I know.
Don't worry.
Oh, so terrible, so terrible.
I've heard that it's really bad. So let's do a quick little rundown of what this even is. Roxanne, would you like to tell us what we're doing here?
So we're currently stuck in the COVID-19 quarantine. A lot of us are stuck at home. We're bored. So we thought of this podcast. We thought it would be a good way for us to introduce our team members, have them talk a little bit more about themselves, and have the rest of the team learn more about our interesting members. Because on the actual Dragon Boat, it's a little difficult to have deep conversations and get to know one another better. Man.
Sorry,
And
I had to go close the window. Sorry, guys.
You're letting the corona in?
Yeah, I'm just really testing fate right here because I'm so bored. I think we should take this time to talk to Isabelle since she is our first guest. She is the main attraction here. The star. You're a star, honey. So, Isabelle, how did you first hear about the team / join the team? How did you find PDBC, the Pennsylvania Dragon Boat Club?
well, when I first moved to Philadelphia, I actually had been told to join PDPC by my brother, who is also a Penn alum, and actually graduated around the same time Julius did. I think only 1 or 2 classes away from him. And he told me, "Oh, I know all these super cool people who are on this dragon boat team that paddle on the Schuylkill River, and like I think you would get along with them. You remember Kat, my friend? You should join." And I was like, I don't know if I want to be friends with my brother's friends.
Me too.
What a sales pitch.
And I actually completely forgot about it for a good 8 months into living in Philadelphia.
How dare you?
I know, like it's so terrible. But it turned out that in May of 2018, I believe, I was just like tired of just hanging out with my work friends and wanted to find a new group of people to spend time with, but also exercise more. Because for me, exercise had become very much just running by yourself, and those solo activities are great, but they're not great for your social life.
Not a team.
Yeah.
It's not
I don't know. I mean, call me crazy, but I get almost zero enjoyment out of running 100% of the time. And that's purely my opinion on it, and I know we have a bunch of runners on the team, but I feel you on that. That is, running is just like, whoa.
I mean, like I like it. It's just it's not exactly what you want to spend all your time doing. It's hard to be like, oh, I have nothing to do today. Let me run for 6 hours.
Yeah,
Like,
that's the thing. Like if you're trying to do something, like if you're like really trying to do like a caloric deficit or whatever you want to call it, you have to like put in a lot of time into running,
definitely.
right?
Yeah.
I remember like the first couple times I ran, I like looked at the calorie thingy, and they're like, "Oh, you ran 2 miles? That's 100 calories." I'm like, I'm not doing this anymore. So that's cool. You wanted something more out of exercise as opposed to just chilling by yourself.
Yeah. And it was also that it just so happened that my brother brought it up again towards the end of yeah, I mean, he brought it up, and then I just so happened to meet Sam Lee at a happy hour.
Sam Lee.
Yeah. And actually my brother had told me the wrong name for PDPC. He had told me PDBA. And so I was I was looking at PDBA's website and trying to figure out how their schedule would work with me until I met Sam at the happy hour, and she was like, "I'm on a Dragon Boat team. You should come out." And she immediately sent my information to Mo. And I got an email like 3 seconds later.
Oh my God, Miss
like,
Mo.
You are ready to like join our first practice. But they didn't tell me how to get to the dock, or that MLK was closed down, or like anything.
A classic rite of passage that we've all went through.
So yeah, that was my first day.
Is this the dock?
Yeah.
They also didn't tell me how to find you guys once I got to the dock.
Oh, what's that GIF with that guy? He's like,
did you say GIF?
Yes.
Nah, dog, it's GIF.
I stand in the middle of this argument.
Isabelle, as our guest, you need to be the tiebreaker here.
I say GIF.
How dare you? How dare you all?
I was trying to stay out of it, and you made me.
And this is the end of the podcast, everyone. Thank you for listening. It's GIF. You're all wrong. You're all wrong.
In the air.
Okay, what were we talking about?
Lost on the dock, and you're like, is this the dock?
Yeah, I mean, so thankfully that is a thing that I believe you guys are now very much on top of, right? Like when was it that Isabelle and Roxanne, that you guys like officially kind of like took the torch?
I don't know the exact date.
Oh, yeah.
There's a puppy. There's a puppy.
Isabelle, for everyone that can't see, Isabelle just brought a dog onto the screen.
Bork, bork.
But it was what is it, like a few months? Like a year? Like 7 years?
We kind of took on France too.
Yeah, it's been a couple months, at least 6 months since France started up.
Yeah, but officially, I think it was like end of January.
Okay.
Beginning of February.
Well, I mean, it's I would say that it definitely feels like, there's a lot of activity happening, and from you guys doing work.
Can't take all the credit.
Oh yes, I know that like a few other people have definitely like stepped up, and like definitely the directions for new people to like get to the dock have been a lot clearer from what I've seen.
Yeah, I think they've improved ever since we started having corporate events too. Because that was just very straightforward how to do it.
Yeah, and the corporate events, that was like through you guys, right? You and Julius and so like how does that even happen? Do you just like go to someone in your company and be like, yo?
So I wasn't directly involved to the first time that Accenture hosted it. I was like on the committee, but I didn't plan it. But Julius runs the APA group at Accenture, so we don't have to ask for permission.
Ooh, what an in you have
the person in charge.
What do you do from there? So like Julius or whoever's in charge has the idea, and then what happens? Like how does the corporate event begin?
I mean, generally the way that it happens is that when we come into May, which is the APA or API Heritage Month, we decide that we want to host a certain amount of events and that we want one of them to be active. And that recently has become that we want to take people out to Dragon Boat because it's a very culturally APA sport that not a lot of people have experienced before. But it's also a good workout. And so it's been one of our like key things for APA Heritage Month.
Yeah.
And as of the last few years, it hasn't really been even a question about hosting it. Just
So
because everyone has
like
loved
an
it.
annual thing now.
Yeah, it's pretty much become an annual thing.
That's awesome.
Everyone really loves participating in it.
Mm-hmm.
And people are always asking us why we can't have it more than once a year.
And you'd be like, yo, just join the team, dog.
I mean, that's what it actually ends up becoming often. I know that our situation is a little bit more unique because as a like APA group at Accenture, we are looking for supporting other APA groups or like bringing out APA heritage. So our corporate event is focused around the fact that Dragon Boat is an Asian origin sport. But I think it is a little bit different than why KPMG comes to join us or why like Advent Health would come or yeah.
And what does APA stand for like those of us that don't know? Me.
Asian Pacific Americans, or API would be Asian and Pacific Islanders. So
Yeah, I knew that.
Way.
Yeah, that was obvious. That was for the people that our listeners that didn't know. Obviously,
I've been organizing or helping Julius organize the national APA Heritage Month for Accenture right now, and so it's very ingrained in my head that we just say APA or API, because that's
how long has that been like going on? Like so you're going national, as in like you and Julius are kind of like spearheading this organization that's kind of just developing.
So Julius is part of our national organization for the APA ERGs at Accenture. He is really the one who's spearheading it along with a person from one of our other offices. The national organization decided that Philadelphia and I believe it's Denver are going to be the spearheads this year. And Julius brought in people from his own team, meaning me and Sam and a couple others to help out with the team as well. And we've been organizing it for almost a month and a half now. And
wow.
May is right around the corner. So hopefully it's going to be a great
in May?
month. Yeah, it's in May.
Oof.
That's like 2 days.
Yeah, but we have a lot of things kicked off already. We have a town hall that's going to be happening on Friday. And then we have, I believe, 6 other events throughout the month. And then we also have blog posts every day. And then we have the local events. So
are you responsible for those, like all of those, like the blog posts and all that as well?
So me particularly, I worked on the blog posts and making sure that the first blog post went out. So I helped with the interviews and everything regarding those first ones and organizing who we would potentially talk to for these things. From there, we've also just been helping out wherever we can. And we also have to worry about our local events besides the national broadcasts. So working on those. They've been going pretty well. Because of this whole COVID situation, a lot of our in-person events went out of the window. So instead, we're doing a lot of virtual events, and they have been a little bit less planning intensive just because a lot of them have become movie viewings or community talks or getting a speaker, which just puts a little bit less pressure on us to have to host an event but
I'm sure.
puts a little bit more pressure on actually finding the people who would be able to provide these services. So there's a lot more front end work than it is for like the actual event.
Yeah, I mean, I imagine you're definitely saving on a lot of just the organizational brain power, where you need to like find a location and get everyone in on the same.
The resources.
So I guess that's one saving grace in it.
And I guess you like reach more people too, because if were the local events like Denver's specific and Philadelphia specific, or was there some like East Coast, West Coast situation
So
going on?
our
Or like,
local events are still going to be mostly distributed to Philadelphia people, just because for a certain amount of them, wherever we need to use money, it has to be restricted to a smaller group of people. So for one of the events that we're going to do is like food from around the world, and we're giving everyone $10 who signs up for this event, and they can order food from different Asian countries, and we'll have like a little dinner together.
Oh, that's cool.
But we can't have like the whole Northeast join because we're not going to pay for the whole Northeast to eat. So there are certain things that we are restricting. I'm not sure about the details on this, but I think when we buy the rights to a movie to show, I think we need to also limit the amount of people who join that showing, depending on how
really?
much we pay.
makes sense.
Yeah, usually for the rights, I think it's a cap of 100 usually, but I don't think we could distribute it past Philadelphia just because we don't want to violate those rights.
Oh, I never thought of that. Distributing a movie based on the number of viewers.
I think it's
We
more
never
important
think
when it
about
comes down to like digital distribution of it, because you never know if people are recording or
Yeah,
anything with
that's
that.
that's true.
Yeah.
But like I know in college when I used to organize like movie showings and everything, that we had to generally give an estimate of how many people would be at that showing. I'm not sure what that meant for restrictions and if laws in Massachusetts are different than they are in Pennsylvania. I wasn't really involved in planning this specific event for Accenture, but I assume there has to be similar laws across the country.
That's very interesting, because I
So
mean
interesting.
I'm only involved in like the production of the movie business, so I never like think about that part where distribution and like copyright laws and all that very fun stuff to think about. Okay, so let's circle back to where Dragon Boat comes in. So you found the team. So what about the team kind of made you stay?
I think one of the main reasons I wanted to find a team in the first place was for the like social connection, and then also just like getting back in shape.
Mm-hmm.
And what I found in the team was one sport that I actually enjoyed doing and that I would want to drag my butt out of bed in a Saturday or a Sunday morning and go to the river and potentially get soaked, but still love the actual sport. And then beyond that, I found a team that like truly could support each other and be there and support each other as a team and as individuals. And that's really what I was kind of lacking in Philadelphia, just that social circle that would go out for lunches after practice or just give their time to like everyone else. And yeah, so that's kind of why I stayed and why I want to continue being a part of the team.
I miss those lunches.
Me too.
HT.
I mean, anytime someone asks me to what we want for lunch, I will always say pho.
Or ramen. Is there no go-to ramen place?
There's go-to ramen places, but if you're bringing a whole team there,
Pho.
I think that like really limits your options, because ramen places are always like
Yeah, like
Small,
tight
yeah.
quarters. Everyone's
max
real
cap.
close together. Yeah, like you
We
wouldn't
should
even.
still do a team lunch. Let's have everyone order from the same restaurant and just eat. together.
That would be cool. The delivery on that would be very unpredictable, though.
Potentially.
Yeah.
I mean, if people live nearby, they could pick up, but like it would be a great opportunity to support like a APA business
That's true.
if we could. So we could like order from Koreana. I know that they've not been having a
Koreana.
lot of, yeah. It's like something that we traditionally patron a lot, and I know that we haven't been recently, so could be a fun thing to do.
That's
What's
a great idea.
the big stone pot called?
The dosat?
Is that what
The
it's called?
the dulsut.
That thing. Well, that's like part of like
The like
Spain.
big
Are they?
like stone clay pot thing.
Yeah. I wish they would like deliver with the
In-
pot. Oh,
Oh my god, they would lose so much money.
They would lose so much.
You gotta buy a new clay pot every time.
but in Korea or Japan, when you order takeout, don't you like have to put the dishes back outside your door and then someone will come and pick it up?
Is that a thing? I've never heard of that.
Someone
I'm also very ignorant of that, though.
check on me. Like they'll bring you the food in like actual like
and then you're done, so then you just like leave it outside your door.
yeah.
Like room service.
Yeah.
I've never had
I
that.
could be wrong.
I've
Okay.
never had that in Korea, at least.
We could
It
chop
might be
Yeah.
in Japan.
Okay, we could chop that out if it's wrong.
Well, that's another thing. So you've lived in Korea, Isabelle, right?
For a little bit, yeah.
Let's dig into this if that's cool with you. Okay, so
got my shovel.
why were you in Korea? Why were you living there? What
Because
brought you there?
because as a high schooler, I had this crazy dream and
No dream is crazy.
crazy dream and potential obsession with Korean dramas, which is a little bit embarrassing, but also led me to wanting to learn more about not only my own heritage as like a Chinese person, but also just about Asia in general. And from there, I had realized pretty soon as a high schooler that my parents were not particularly interested in me going and becoming an artist. In whatever way or fashion I wanted to do that, they really wanted me to go to college and pursue it. And instead, I ran away to New York for a day and auditioned to be a dancer in a K-pop group. So,
What?
so that is
Hold up,
my
which-
rebellion
Hold up,
against my
which
parents.
K-pop group? Which K-pop group?
We must know.
I got
K-pop group.
Google open right now.
No K-pop group. I eventually got into a like foreign trainee program for one of the big entertainment companies in Korea, and it never really panned out to anything major. But there were a couple times that I flew out to Korea just to like see what it would be and what it would mean to be in a group like this. And potentially if they had any groups that they thought were interesting for me, then they would like have me meet people and see what type of music would be possible. But
So was it kind of like a boot camp kind of thing? Like where you essentially are immersed in like the like
yeah,
Were they like molding you to be basically in a K-pop group?
I think the thing is that part of my entire experience, I was always a bit resistant on fully committing to it. And the idea was just that I never had the full confidence that I would be able to succeed in a group like this, mostly because in general, I'm taller than the majority of people in this industry. I was not a native speaking Korean. There's not a lot of half Asians in these groups either. And so beauty aesthetics weren't exactly in my favor for a lot of things. The one thing that seemed to really attract them to me is that I spoke a lot of languages and that my skin was pretty easily whiter than normal. And so it didn't take as many beauty products to give the like aesthetic of the like more
And like pasty
acceptable.
white.
Yeah. And so there were some benefits that they were seeing in me potentially debuting, but I always had a bit of resistance on what they wanted me to do, whether that be changing my hair color or any other procedures that you potentially need. And my parents needed to sign certain things as well, as a minor. And I had agreed to go to college as well, to fulfill some of what they wanted. And also because I didn't know if I would be successful. And so I wanted to continue on a path. And so me kind of half committing all the time meant that I didn't really get to fly out and try it the way that I should have tried it earlier on until my senior year in college. And that's where I ended up going out and spending a couple months in Korea and really kind of immersing myself in it. And eventually tearing up my contract and leaving.
Oh my
So,
gosh.
yeah.
So the like boot camp thing, that was your senior year in college?
Mm-hmm. And like
Wow.
through my entire time in college, I did send videos. I sent things over to like show that they were still interested in me, and there was a certain amount of things that I had to do, but they were never, I was always kind of on the back burner, mostly because I never wanted to let go of that. But I think they always had an interest in me just because
Were you like a wild card or like?
I think the idea was that like in the end, I was a good chance for whatever group that I could be in to debut internationally.
Ah.
And that's what the industry has been moving to for a while now. And being able to have someone who speaks English who potentially could also appeal to one of the other biggest groups of K-pop fans, which is Brazil. That
Really?
I
was
didn't
like,
know that.
yeah, there's
Brazil?
it's a huge group of people. Like fans in Brazil are one of the biggest like groups of K-pop fans. And that it's
What?
Brazil,
That's
Japan, and the
so-
US for like external markets.
I
And
never
Japan
would
is
have
also
thought
really
that.
big, but Japan doesn't have as many people as Brazil.
I
And
didn't know
they
that
already
either.
have a certain amount of penetration in the Japanese market that they don't have in the Brazilian market. And actually, yeah, Brazil has the biggest population of Japanese people in the world.
What?
Like,
Wait.
the projections was that Brazil's Japanese population would surpass Japan's Japanese population in 2020. But I don't know if that actually happened.
Shut the
Brazil-
I
front
think
door.
it did.
Brazil has more Japanese people than Japan?
Mhm.
That's
But
crazy.
Japan
Brazil
has
is
like
officially on
a.
its third generation of Japanese people.
That makes sense if you think about it, because Japan, their what is the rate called?
Population rate, like their birth.
Yeah, it's like less than 2.
Yeah,
It's been less than 2 for a while.
Japan's population is declining while Brazil's population of Japanese people is increasing.
Wow.
That's crazy.
That's crazy. I never would have thought that. More than 1.6 million Brazilians are of Japanese descent. Wow. That's just something on Wikipedia that I just
Yeah.
searched.
Googled.
But then again, that's Wikipedia. So take that with a grain of salt.
Yeah, I also have no idea if the numbers actually matched.
Mm.
That was always a number I heard of growing up, that by 2020 it would exceed.
That's now.
I know. I have no idea if it was actually attained.
Does Brazil do the census too? Do they have their own?
Probably.
Yes, but not very accurate. Brazil's
Mm.
a whole different situation, and that's also something I can talk about. But Brazil in general is a fairly difficult nation to account for anything really, whether it be public policy or just like general institutions, it's really hard to count people because people tend to live in an unregistered way. There's a lot of like slum areas or favela areas in all over Brazil, but mainly in larger cities, that families will be 2 adults and 7 to 9 kids or 12 kids, and you never really registered like 5 or 6 of them. Some of them are not born in hospital, so they don't have a birth certificate. It just isn't easy to count the people who live in areas where their houses are not even registered. A lot of these favela areas are actually like vampire networks that take electricity from businesses down on the main roads and just suck it through the entire favela system. So it's really hard to even count how many houses there are in certain like densely populated areas. So it's very hard within that to know how many people live in each one of the houses and therefore to get an accurate count.
Yeah. Wow.
So are favelas like ghettos or slums?
They would be most like easily translated to a slum area.
Okay.
I think what you would see most comparable are the slums that you see in India as well, like all those images of like houses on top of each other. They're generally built of like concrete or of like metal slabs that you see. A lot of pictures you see on the internet of favelas are like these colorful mountains of like small houses or like little huts that are just lined next to each other, just one on top of the other.
Have you spent time in Brazil also?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Sounds like it.
Yeah, growing up, I spent most of my summers going to Brazil. Also, my grandparents were, details. My mother is Brazilian. My mother is Chinese born Brazilian, and was always confused for Japanese Brazilian, which is why I know so much about the Japanese population in Brazil. And I used to go every summer to visit my grandparents, as well as Easter, because my grandparents were very Catholic. And so at least twice a year, we'd go down to Brazil to visit and see family. And from there, I worked and volunteered a lot in Brazil. So I know a lot about the favela systems, mostly because I did a lot of nonprofit work in them, mostly in a secondary school that taught kids things that they wouldn't learn in school. The Brazilian school system has been very altered over the past like 30, 40 years because of a military democracy that was established in Brazil back during the revolution. That essentially, the idea was to bring everyone back to equality. And in like the late 1990s, there was an effort to bring in all of these like economic policies and social policies to like equalize everyone. And it was something that was going through all the Latin American countries. And you might have heard like of like Mexico's policy of trying to get every student to go to school, and their entire like way of encouraging parents to send kids to school so that they could raise their education levels. Brazil does something really similar called the Bolsa Familiar, which essentially meant that every kid had to go to school and families would get paid for sending their kids to school. And that was something that people thought was going to be great. It was going to make kids get educated. It was going to make parents have some money. They wouldn't be able to lose out.
On paper, that sounds great.
Yeah. And that like they would be able to recoup that cost of like the kid being away
Like an
instead of
investment.
earning money.
Mhm.
Exactly. The kid didn't need to work anymore because the family would be getting paid. But the effect that they didn't expect is that families decided to have more kids to get more money. And that caused a lot of issues, including a very large like child population, and a smaller older population that is not able to support it. It became an issue to the point that the school system was not able to support the amount of kids that needed to be in the schools. And so
Wow.
Brazil's school system was actually split into 3 terms. You have the morning term, which starts pretty much at 7:30 and ends at noon. Then you have 12:30 to 5:30, and then you have the night term. And kids have to go in one of these 3 terms.
Oh man, I can't imagine
The
being
night
the night school kids.
The night school kids tend to be older. Generally, it will be like a teenager who had to work through the day
Mm-hmm.
and then had to go to school at night. But essentially, the idea was that people would be able to do that, and then they would also be able to subsidize their families by working for whatever other part of the day
Yeah.
that they needed. But the way that they
Okay,
did this is by cutting out all other extra activities, which meant health classes, which meant sports, gym, art, like anything that they thought was not necessary for a general education, including like foreign languages or computer sciences,
Mm-hmm.
are not included
All
in the
gone.
school system.
Wow.
And so the volunteering that I did is that at this secondary school, what we did is we tried to keep kids off the streets, because what happened is that if you were in the morning class, you would tend to try to work for the rest of the day. What can a 5-year-old child do when they're not at school and their parents aren't home and they live in a slum? Usually it's deal drugs. Usually it's be a drug mule or steal things, and it's not great.
Mm-hmm.
So the idea of the school was to have somewhere else that these kids could go to not only just be somewhere, but also learn.
Yeah.
And so we provided everything else that is not provided in schools: health classes, art classes, mosaic classes, like everything that they couldn't get, they could get at this school.
So was that like an organization, or was it just one school?
So that one specifically is called Casa de Zezinho, and it is just one organization. It has only one school, but it supports almost like 400 or 500 students. And it is located in one specific slum in Brazil, Parque Santo Andrés. And it only takes care of the kids that are part of that community of Parque Santo Andrés. There are other like organizations that do things like this, but that's the one that like I committed myself to the most, and also I knew the best. And it's a need. It's just a need that needs to be fulfilled, and unfortunately there's just definitely not enough of them. But it's actually like a great organization. I wish I could do more for them. They just are in Brazil, so it's a little difficult to help them as much as
are you like still in contact with that organization? Like have you been like working with them this whole time?
I mean, I'm in contact with them as in like I became pretty good friends with one of the main organizers for the organization. So there are times that they'll send me things that they want translated, to help with like donation funds. They have a couple rounds of donations every so often, and their main contributors are actually people from France, the US, and Brazil. So they like to have their newsletters translated into French and English to make sure that they're reaching their right audiences. But I haven't really been able to dedicate a lot of time to them. And so really it's maybe been 2 to 3 newsletters in the last few years that I translate. But I really wish I could do more. And unfortunately the distance just doesn't.
Yeah. Dang. I had no idea you were lived in Brazil. That's amazing.
So how many languages are you fluent in or conversational in? Because you mentioned you also understand French.
I mean, I think fluent, I can really only say English and Portuguese most likely.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, it's what I grew up with, and I grew up with Chinese and French as well, but
Oh, wow.
I don't
Hot damn.
feel as comfortable in them as I would in Portuguese or English. And even then, I feel like a lot of times in both English and Portuguese, I'm just like, I don't know what I'm saying, but I'm saying something.
I'll
So
just
let's
stumble my
go.
way through this. As long as you can kind of like get the main point across. So maybe not fluent, but like
Like
I guess
conversational.
yeah.
Oh,
I think I'm conversational in all of them for the most part.
Wow.
I guess it depends on the conversation, because if you're gonna bring me into a
Politics
conversation,
only.
well, yeah, exactly. I don't think I could do that. Like,
Wow. I mean, that's amazing. I'm not even I'm like barely fluent in Cantonese, and that's like a very uncommon dialect considering.
you
So
should teach me.
deal. And then you teach me Mando
Okay.
so then I can surprise my mom one day and she can stop talking behind my back. As a kid, my grandma tried to teach me Mandarin because I got like super into the old TVB Chinese dramas, and then
宋公
yeah,
but TVB's
西游
in
记
Cantonese, right? Wait, you
yeah,
could
it
correct
is in
me.
Cantonese. Most of it was in
Cantonese.
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 But the channel that she recorded them on, like you could they also had like another version of the same episode but dubbed in Mandarin.
Dubbed.
Yeah. I mean, but that's the thing, like in Hong Kong, a lot of those episodes, a lot of the productions are like just kind of everything. Like everyone's just speaking Mandarin or Cantonese, and then they just kind of dub it whichever way works. So like one character will be their actual voice, and then in the Mandarin version, they're dubbed into Mandarin, and then vice
Yeah.
versa, anyone else. So my grandmother would record only
The
the
Mandarin?
Mandarin versions of the shows that I specifically said I liked to like
Oh
force
my
me to learn it.
god.
But then I would watch it and I'd just be like, I don't know what's happening. Like I don't even have a basic understanding of Mandarin, so I can't like it totally didn't work at all. So yeah, I would like some Mando lessons, please. Thank you.
Let's do it.
You could join in on our weekly.
We have Mando lessons going on right now.
Really?
Do you want to join?
With who?
With Ta.
And Sam.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh shit! Yeah, I'll join in.
All right. We'll add you.
Yay.
Tuz
And
are actually really good at Mando, right?
language proficiency is very good. But we tried to teach Ta some Cantonese last week.
Oh, did you?
And then he tried to use it on Vincent.
Oh
And
no.
maybe we're not very good teachers. But
Wait, what did you teach him?
we taught him I guess 10 common phrases.
What?
Like, what's the weather? How much is this? We taught him 1 through 10.
Nice. What else?
Let me think. What else is a basic? Like, where are you from? What's your name?
Where's the bathroom?
We actually
I
didn't
need
teach
it
him
right
that.
now.
Oh, do you need to go?
No, that would be
to go.
that is the important phrases.
That's
a
true.
very
It's
important one. Where's the bathroom?
Yeah, that one's pretty important. I remember when I went to China, I'll be like, damn, barely know any Mandarin, but I know how to go
But
to
I
the
know
bathroom.
It's the most important thing.
That, and then where's the food? Or pass the food.
Pass
Although
the
I
food.
think in China you don't really pass the food. You just kind of
You just eat the food.
you just lean over and go get it.
Yeah.
I actually wanted to go back to your life as a K-pop sensation because I remember thinking to myself, I had a question, and then we kind of
Mhm.
started talking about Brazil, which was like a different topic in general, so I didn't want to like
Cut it off.
Veer back.
Yeah. But back to you going in this boot camp and being told all these things about just like your looks. Was that like awful to sit through? Like, oh, you're too tall, you freak, or oh, your skin's white enough, I guess, for our international audience. Oh, sweet, you know English. Maybe that'll work for you.
I mean, I think I was always very aware of what the industry kind of expected, and the company that I signed up for, like I also knew what their expectations were and what their reputation was, and they're very well known for almost all their stars having plastic surgery and it just being
amazing.
Like, it's not confirmed whether they require it or if like people just do it because it's social pressures. So it was something that I was kind of expecting, and of course it doesn't feel good to like get all these comments about you.
Yeah. I mean, especially at like such a young age, right? I mean, at a point where
young
like,
adult.
you know, people commenting on your looks is like that hits hard a lot of the times.
Yeah, I mean, I think definitely during my first audition when I got comments like straight away.
Yeah.
Because like the first thing about when they like take you in, their first discussion is obviously like
your image.
Could they fit at all?
Oh my God.
And what's required. And I think that affected me much more then than it did when I went to Korea. Because at that point I almost knew that like I wasn't gonna stay. And it was the time that I was most committed to it, but it was also the time where I was like, I'm only doing this because I needed to like do it for myself.
Is it like checking off a box kind of?
It was like I dragged this on for so long and that like it always was what I wanted to do, but is it really what I wanted to do?
You had to see for yourself.
I had to see for myself, and I had to like see what I could have done, because I could have picked up and left like when I got that spot from the audition. Like I could have just gone, and I didn't need to be dragging my feet on anything, and like maybe I could have debuted by now. And by the time I graduated, or I was in my senior year of college, I was 21 already. I almost aged out of being a star anyway.
That's crazy.
21?
Yeah.
21 is the cap?
It's not the cap, but like in order for you to debut, that's pretty old.
Okay.
To like be the,
like
the new breakout star.
Yeah, to be the new breakout star at 21, that's pretty old. At least for like K-pop, not so much in like the folk area, or if like you were in a different part of the music industry, you could do it. There's plenty of stars that did it. Like Eric Nam graduated from Northwestern and then went to Korea and started his music career, and he's pretty successful. And I'm pretty sure he was 22 when he did that, and then he had to do military service, so he was 25.
Oh, I think I remember you telling me about this guy, Eric Nam.
Who's Eric Nam?
Jen just went to his concert a couple weeks ago.
Oh, that's what. Yeah. He was here.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, like, it's possible, just not really in what I was good at. And that being said, my voice isn't like the greatest thing. What I'm better at is just like rhythm and dance in general.
Tap dancing.
Yes, tap dancing. That's my specialty. But yeah, so like there just wasn't enough positives about me being in a group for them to really want me and to like push me to sign that contract, or for me to really commit. So I think it was from both sides that we were both just like dragging our feet on it.
Yeah.
Because I think there's always hesitancy in hiring foreigners because we have more legal rights as well. And when we sign these contracts, there's more labor laws about like Americans, even if you're like abroad, about what a company can tell you to do. And it's something that I always heard from my peers just in general, that like when you hire an American, there's more of an expectation that they will push back on certain things.
Yeah.
And
yeah, that's right.
does the company want to take on that risk? Don't know. Could it be more positive than the risk? Possibly. This person speaks English, they can talk to your main fan base. Like,
I guess like K-pop image is it is very manufactured. Because I mean, down to, you were saying everyone, whether or not a company requires their stars to get plastic surgery or not, like even if not, like the fact that that's even like a rumor is already like pretty telling of how that industry works. So wait, so you weren't really you weren't like looking for fame though?
no, I think when I first went into it in my little high school mind, I think I was looking at it more as some of my friends had done this before. Some of them had applied, and like I had heard about this just like growing up and the whole system. And I grew up with like Taiwanese stars and all of that. So I thought, hey, this would be really interesting. And like I love dance, I love singing. Like, what could be the negative? And I don't think I was as familiar with the system as I obviously am now. But I knew to be careful with it just because in general, I feel like I grew up with all these rumors about just the entertainment industry being terrible and like breaking people anyway. So I took a shot and wanted to try to find a way to continue my artistic side without like losing myself.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, well, I mean, either way, I applaud you for even trying, because I know that industry is like, you were just saying, it was really kind of cutthroat in many ways. But I think we're just about at an hour, so I think we can wrap it up here. Yeah. Is there anything else you wanted to touch on?
Is there something that like
Would you like to
gonna
tell us your
comment and
deepest, darkest secrets
dun dun?
and let us put it on the internet for you?
We do like we don't have the rights, but I could try to do the SVU. Dun, 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 dun,
Yeah.
dun.
Can you just actually, Roxanne, can you just sing that for the entirety of the next episode? Dun, 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 dun.
How many duns is that?
Bo,
Dun,
bo.
dun, 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 dun.
I just remember the like interlude part that's just like dun dun.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That thing
That
always
really
scared me.
dramatic hit.
Yeah, when you change scenes and there's the little cue card that comes up.
Yeah.
It scared me as a kid.
I remember in college watching those and thinking like because it sounds a little bit like someone's just like striking two things really loudly, and we just called them
does.
anvil
It's
guy.
the
We just
yeah.
yeah, we started calling it like, oh, that's the anvil guy coming in now. He's a little late. And then like sometimes like that title would come up very suddenly. And that just turned into a whole joke about anvil guy kind of as asleep at the anvil and going like, oh shit, and then just like hitting it.
On the topic of anvil guy, you know I think it's called Sleigh Ride, the Christmas song. Isn't there like a wood slap in there?
Sleigh ride.
Yeah.
Wait, what? I'm having trouble
You mean
remembering
Jingle
what song
Bells?
this
Do,
is.
do, 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 do.
Keep going. Keep going.
And then there's like a
Oh,
wood slap. Yeah. There's like
oh wow,
one
Isabel! No wonder
guy's
you were going for K-pop. Your voice is beautiful.
Oh yeah, my humming is amazing.
Was that your audition? You just hummed the Sleigh Bell song,
Sure was.
and they were like, "My God,
Mhm.
she's
Christmas
too tall."
special.
I mean, I think for how old am I? 16?
Oh my god.
Oh my God.
Yeah, when I was 16, I was already 5'8", 5'8.5" ish.
I was 5'1" when I was 16.
What are you now, Roxanne?
5'1". I hope it's not less.
I mean, either way, doing that at 16 is incredible. I was
insane.
busy failing my first driver's test at 16.
I almost failed my driver's test too.
Did you?
I almost hit the cone at the back of the parallel parking,
Ooh,
but I
nice.
didn't. But you know what's sad about it? That space for parallel parking was 2 car lengths wide,
Ooh,
and I
yikes,
still
and you were
almost hit.
At teenage angst.
Yeah, I didn't even get to that on my first driver's test. I immediately failed because I did a rolling stop at a stop
Oof, amateur. Oof.
Oof. Because my parents taught me how to drive, and they were always like, nobody ever fully stops at a stop sign. Just kind of like inch through, and then like if you're good, go ahead, and if not, let them go. And so I just did that, and the guy immediately failed me. And then I remember my dad going like, "How'd you fail? That was so easy." And I'm like, "You told me a rolling stop was okay."
It's
That was
okay.
teenage Ben.
Adult
Glimpse.
rocks.
Yeah.
18 driver's license.
You didn't fail your driver's test though, right?
Nope, first try.
Wow.
Yeah, my
Wow.
brother failed, and he was waiting for me to fail too.
Oh, and you got to rub it in his
Oh.
face.
You're like,
Sure did.
me, look me.
Did you get it before him?
No,
Oh,
because
okay.
he's 3
Oh.
years older, so if he had failed
That would have
all
been a
those
little
3 years.
embarrassing. Not live that down.
Ooh. All right, cool. Well, let's wrap it up here. Thank you once again, Isabelle, for joining us. Roxanne, do you have any closing remarks? Or Isabelle, do you have any closing remarks?
I look forward to hearing more of these podcasts. Y'all should tune in every week to hear.
Nice plug. Nice plug. I'm glad you guys are doing it because I hate doing this.
You do a good intro.
Thank you. I practice in the shower.
Mm.
When I'm like, hello and welcome to nope, too excited. Tone it down, Ben.
I'm
Tone
sure
it down.
Quiz is like, what the?
Yeah.
Who
I
are
do it.
you
I do it.
welcoming?
I do it at 4 a.m.
Do you do your scales like hello?
Hello. And then I'm like, I think I liked D major. And then I'll run through that. All right. Thank you all for listening. Tune in next time for another guest. It's a mystery right now. So who's it going to be?
Dun dun.
Oh, I like that callback. That was beautiful.
Where can we find you, Isabelle, if we want to know, like, what are your social media handles?
You can follow me at Instagram at Van de Walle, IVANDEWALLE. And I don't have a Twitter, so you cannot tweet at me.
Me neither. I don't have a Twitter either. Cool. I'm Ben. You can follow me on Instagram at Bwonganite. That's BWONG Night. ONITE. Roxanne?
You can follow me on Instagram at Roxboxing, ROXBOXING.
Cool. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time.
Dun dun.